Hi everybody, it's Carl from ArtWorks. Today I'm going to walk you through the final assembly on this Burberry scarf. Let's talk about the scarf real quick. As I've mentioned before, the way that we mount these suckers down is I will cut a piece of reversible cool tack to the exact specific size, pin these guys down, then bake them in my heat press and remove the pins. Then I will attach them to a back substrate, build a frame around them using more foam core. That way we build a shelf internally for this guy. Then we are going to lay a mat on it. We've already got all these items cut out, all ready to rock and roll. I have already placed the acrylic into the molding and gone so far, gone so far as to build the internal box, because these guys are getting shallow boxed. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, fit this guy in here. Then I will adhese the mat down to the package. I knew at the time when I was doing this that I was going to need to do a very slight trim on one or two of these edges. You don't want items to be too tight in a frame, but you absolutely want them to fit. All right, let's go ahead and get this mounted. We'll get that cleared out for dust. We'll get this sucker put together once and for all. All right, I think I'm going to use PVA on this. Doesn't gas out, water-based, pH neutral. I'm going to give myself a lot of distance between it and the scarf. This is only to hold the mat down. Sometimes you'll see me use the ATG. Sometimes you'll see me use the PVA. ATG is very expensive. And it is not necessarily a permanent bond. PVA, on the other hand, when used on paper, is an absolutely permanent bond. Okay, let's reorient this guy. Oh, yeah, we're good. This is one of those situations where four hands would really benefit me. But, you know, you kind of develop a muscle memory. Oh, of course. That is when my phone rings. Right in the middle. Do surgeons take phone calls in the middle of operations? I wonder that. They're going to have to go to voicemail, and I'll get back to them, because I really only get one chance to lay this guy down right on the money. And you know what? For what this client is paying, they deserve it. Make sure we've got nice adhesion all the way around. All right, let's see who called. And we're back. Oh boy. I'm known as something of a storyteller. I don't know why it's been so difficult for me to get comfortable storytelling on camera. Kyler, who you also see in these videos, has been encouraging me to try to do more talking to the camera. I haven't figured out so much. The problem is, what do I talk about? You want me to talk about framing? You want me to talk about art? I'd love to know in the comments, and I'm not trying to seek engagement. Pardon me while I step off camera to grab a new blade. See, that's the kind of stuff I'd like to try to avoid. I'd like to present a more professional package when I put these things together for you. When I say packaged, I don't mean the art, I mean the video. Because, I mean, I know what I'm doing. I don't portend to be the definitive expert. But, you know, like the other day, things come up in the shop that I do know about. I do know quite a bit about this technology, about this profession, about the right way to handle art. And I don't know if any of you have seen, we posted a previous video. I had a client who came in with some prints, and to their eye, they didn't recognize that the prints weren't as good a quality as they ought to be. Not based on, certainly not based on how they paid for it. So, you know, I'm always trying to just keep an eye out for people. So anyway, stories. Oh, I've got stories. Stories about art. You know, it's tough to be in the art business sometimes. I often say the number one question people ask me when they find out I'm a framer is they say, oh, I've got this piece of art. It's about this big. How much would that cost to frame? And once we determine that that's not a kind of a, oh, it'll cost you X, then the next question is always, so after you frame it, you know where I could sell it? And that always amuses me. Something that happened on Facebook yesterday that I thought was kind of funny. So I belong to a couple of framers groups. Somebody posed the question, what is your shop hourly rate? And I thought, gee, that's a funny question because, you know, depends on the project, depends on the client, depends on whether or not we're doing something by the hour, by the piece. So I have said to people in the past that the hourly rate for labor is $125. The hourly rate for art advice is $375 an hour. Usually you get a laugh out of people. Hey, it's the phone right on cue. Unlike my cell phone, I can't as easily ignore it. It's tough having a landline. Not something I appreciate. All right, let's see if we've got anything egregious going on in here. You don't get to see the fun stuff. It's like the camera ought to be set up behind me or something. Or have multiple cameras. That's what we need. Further complications. Pardon me. Now let's go this way. That's better. Let's do this a little bit. Rigid pins. I like rigid pins. That looks good. I don't see anything hanging around where it should not be. Everything looks good to me. Touch up these corners when I'm done. I'd have to say that's the, I believe in an earlier video I was talking about the fact that we don't join our own frames. We use the back room of the molding manufacturers and suppliers that we work with. Which in an overwhelming number of cases works out just terrific. However, sometimes their corners leave a little to be desired. That's why I've got a couple of techniques for making things look even better than they do. That's what we do here, you know. We're very proud of the work that we do. And the work that we do is very good. However, as a realist, a perfectionist could not do this job. They would still be working on their first piece. You know, as you get on in life, you realize everything is a process and everything is a compromise. Sometimes you got to do the best with what you got. Now, I am also an advocate of the philosophy that good is the enemy of great. And good should not be sufficient when better is an alternative. But sometimes you got to know when to say when. And I think that came out pretty nice. I'm going to touch up this corner. Then we'll flip this guy over, put a dust cover on it, get it wired up. Actually, let's go ahead and do this. You can watch me do that. Alrighty. Now, this is a fantastic method for doing what I'm doing right now, because it gets in the separation of the frame and fills it once and for all, making that seam virtually invisible. Oh yeah. I should have done a before and after on that. Let's see, are there any other corners I can touch so I can? No, it looks pretty good already. Nope, that's all of it. Thanks, everybody. I hope Kyler can edit this down into something usable.